Okay, we are live. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Refresh. This is a time to connect, to be inspired, learn something, and ultimately feel a bit better for this time spent together because, hey, that's what Generation W is all about. People are still talking about Assistant Chief Burton, Lakeisha, who shared the pride and the prejudice of being a woman police officer of color. There was no equivocation about being proud of her pride in being both Black and blue. And there's been an outpouring of support for her and her just recently retired, congratulations, former Assistant Chief Greg Burton after 26 years of service. They are amazing members of our community, and there's also been requests for us to take this conversation a bit further around criminal justice. And, we're going to touch on criminal justice today, but we're exploring what could be next. We have 5 remarkable young leaders and activists with us today. They're our kids. You know what? They're all our kids. And they're clearly motivated to make a difference, to be part of creating change and being the change. Now, you might ask, why is this important? I have to tell you, I find it interesting how we speak about the importance of our youth. After all, they are the inheritors of this planet. They will lead our communities. They're soon to be their communities, right? They'll lead their schools, their local and national governments, and most importantly, they'll lead their families. Perhaps the place where personal leadership and social awareness is most personally communicated. Having a stake in what is happening in the world is high stakes for all of us. You know what? When you think about it and take a step back, especially for them. And looking back through history, whenever I prepare, I think about these things, we realize that it really has been our young people that have sparked some of the most meaningful social changes. Malala, she was 17 when she accepted the Nobel Peace Prize just 6 years ago. And she remains a fierce advocate for every girl in the world to get an education. And then, of course, there's Greta Thunberg, the young Swedish activist who's commanded the world's attention regarding the existential crisis arising from climate change. Or how about the 420-year-old young Black men in 1960, Ezell Blair Jr., David Richmond, Franklin McCain, and Joseph McNeil, who organized the first sit-in at a white-only lunch encounter in Greensboro, North Carolina. That movement spread 4 days later to 300 students at that lunch encounter, and ultimately throughout the summer was spread to 55 cities in 13 states. Now, by the end of the summer, that Woolworth lunch counter was quietly integrated. It wasn't so quiet in my hometown of Jacksonville, Florida, where there were other young Black men who sat at that counter here, but they were met by a white mob holding axe handles. It was violent and it was ugly, and yet it was looked at as a moment of change in race relations in this city. Race relations and social justice, very much front and center for our young activists who are with us today, walking in the footsteps of Rodney Hurst and Alton Yates and Malala and Greta, working for a better tomorrow. I am so proud of you. We are so proud of these 5 young activists who are asking questions, doing the hard work, engaging with their peers, talking, dialoguing. They welcome the dialogue. So I've asked each of them to start out today to share a little bit about themselves. So Leah, why don't we start with you?
Hi guys, so I'm Leah Johnson. I'm 19 years old and I currently go to Florida State University. I'm majoring in sociology and African American studies, and I'm majoring in these because before I can attack these societal issues, I want to make sure that I understand what I'm talking about first off. So I'm an advocate and ally for many societal issues, but I'd say I'm more of an activist for the issues directly impacting the African American community. The reason I protest, sign petitions, educate myself, and have dialogues with others is because I'm hopeful that our generation is going to change, demand real change. And also change starts with a conversation. And I've learned that the best way to create permanent change is to pick each other's brains and really understand how these injustices are systematic. And once we see how they play in every single system, it makes it it makes the issue more clear. And instead of debating on whether these issues exist, we get to move the conversation to what we're going to do about these issues. So I'm super excited to be here today and to talk with you guys.
Well, Leah Johnson, we are super excited to have you. And you did mention, we did see a little graphic. She has her own podcast.
Yes. So I have a podcast called Black Dialogues, and it's just started while we were going through this whole pandemic. And I thought this was a great opportunity to be able to have these dialogues and conversations about issues that impact the Black community. So things that go on in society that happen towards us, but also things that we as a community can do to uplift one another and to kind of better our situations a little bit. So I get to have guest speakers and we get to just have different perspectives and conversations about what's going on. So definitely check that out if you can. It's on Google playlists. We have it on Spotify. And if you go on Anchor, it shows the list of other resources you can go to.
Awesome. Okay, we're going to go to Q next. But Q, as I told you guys, people are coming on. They want to say hello. Kathy Carswell, Candace Cooper, LaToya Taylor-White, Chris Reese. I love this. Ty Demps, Jan Healy. Chris says we should call you the top 5. I don't know. He's giving you he's giving a lot of credit early on. Like, let's earn our top 5, right? Actually, you guys have already earned it. Q, tell us about you.
Hi, so my name's Kiki Ramsey. Everybody calls me Q. I'm from Jacksonville, Florida. I currently go to school at St. Leah University near Tampa. And so I work with a youth program called Youth in Government, which run through the YMCA. So we teach our teenagers about civic literacy and how to run a model legislature. Here on campus at St. Leah University, I'm also the student body vice president operations. So I oversee our student senate, just help increase local awareness here on campus as well.
So you are the government man, Q, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And how'd you get drawn into this?
Two people actually really that really like sparked my interest is Representative John Lewis and Elijah Cummings. Just seeing their path through was civil rights or working in Congress, it really sparked my identity for politics. So getting the opportunity to also work with the YMCA helped a lot.
Right, that gave a lot of, and we're going to talk more about actually government in general and the need to engage in government. So we'll come back. Number 3 of the top 5, Taylor Richardson. Tell us about you, Taylor.
Hello. Hi, my name is Taylor Richardson. I go to the Bowl School here in Jacksonville, Florida, and I focus on women advocacy, especially women of color, for people in STEM. So I guess I advocate for inclusion and diversity here in the world that we live in. And I focus on bringing more people of color in different fields such as government, education, other things that we see people in every day. And what else about me? Oh yeah, and I want to leave a legacy that has a sisterhood that brings everybody together and just leaves everyone with representation and hopefully make a change in the world. So yeah.
Okay, that's awesome. Thanks so much, Taylor.
No problem.
And number 4, Grace Freedman.
Hello, everybody. I'm Grace Freedman. I'm 19. I'm from Jacksonville, Florida. I'm currently a rising sophomore at Yale University. And I started the Generation Wow clubs because I really felt passionate about how girls should have a safe space where they can express themselves, be inspired, be mentored. In high school, I also co-founded a nonprofit called Jack's Thrive, where we mentored and tutored local refugee youth. And this last fall at Yale University, I started a student movement called the Justice Impact Movement. And it's a student-led movement dedicated to making justice-impacted individuals, meaning anyone who is previously incarcerated or has any criminal justice system involvement, to be a protected class in higher education. So I'm really passionate about educational equity and inclusion, representation for all groups so they can be inspired.
I will say this, you are unbelievably active, Grace. We are forever grateful to you. As is Sierra. Sierra, I met Sierra not knowing she was a Gen Wow girl. Of course, Taylor is a Gen Wow girl. So Leo, now that we're in Orlando, Leo's in Orlando, we're gonna have to invite you over to join as well. And Q, we're going to have to get some of your government and engage with all these incredible young women, right? We can do that as well. Thanks, Grace. And last but not least, certainly, how about Sierra Mackenzie?
Hi, everyone. My name is Sierra Mackenzie, and I'm a student at Florida State University. I'm also from Jacksonville, and while I was here in high school, I was a part of the Marriage and Leaders Advisory Council, and there I really developed my passion to advocate for youth voice. I'm a big proponent of youth creating the change because we are the future. So I'm majoring in finance and media communication studies at Florida State. And why I wanted to do this is because I really want to use the business sector to promote change in our community, as well as government going beyond just politicians. It's the responsibility of everyone in our community to help make change. And I feel like a great way to do that is through things like workforce development and using young professionals in your community to advocate for the things that you want to see. So I'm all about financial literacy, educational opportunities, and creating that change that we want to see.
Wow. All right, listen, just based on that, I say, where do I sign up? But let's learn more. Like all of you, interestingly enough, as we spent some time together, all of you do seem to be connected around equity. And you are all young. And so I'm going to ask you, do you feel a change that's happening? I mean, the world just, obviously, George Floyd was seen by the entire world. It has sparked an incredible response, his murder. What are you guys feeling? What are you seeing? How does this inform your work of today?
I would say I'm definitely seeing a change, as we spoke about earlier, just to see the global impact that the protests around George Floyd's death are having. You can definitely see the change starting not just here in the United States, but overseas in all countries. People are taking a look at systems that have been in place that oppress people of color and reevaluating what it's going to take to eradicate those systems to make all of our communities more equitable.
And how does it make you personally feel? Do you feel it personally?
Yes, I feel very empowered over these last couple of weeks, and just seeing not only myself, but my friends and close friends and family being very, very excited to take part in this change and keep the momentum going, even as protests have kind of waned, but you're still seeing a lot of people respond to this, whether it's on social media, you're just seeing the motivation still keep going, although there's less media attention now than there was a month ago. Right.
And you guys are going to change that, right?
Yes.
Right? We got to get everyone listening to Black Dialogues with Leah Johnson. Does it create pressure for you? Are you guys feeling pressure? Taylor, do you feel pressure with what's going on?
I wouldn't feel pressure. I feel like it's something that I'm passionate about and that I want to do. So I wouldn't feel pressure, but I definitely see a change and that there are more changes to come. So I'm not happy, but I'm glad to see a change and that everybody's, speaking up about what they care about and the global impact, like Sierra said, of George Floyd's death, and how I feel like I feel like this isn't just about George Floyd, that this is about the years of oppression that we have suffered from. So I'm glad that we're all coming together as one, not just Black against white, but of different races and people of color to come together as one and unify. And I guess I feel it in my soul. I feel it in my heart that this is just something that should happen and that's long overdue. So it's the emotional roller coaster, happy, sad, empowered, a feeling of being together, I guess.
It is an emotional roller coaster, right? Right? Grace, you have been out there on a lot of different issues, talking about race in a time, it's really interesting. It's almost like before and after. We seem to have more permission to talk about race now. How does that feel? Do you feel permission?
I think that a lot of times when we're talking about this, I really come back to the idea of if you're not outraged, you're not paying attention. And specifically as a white woman, I feel as though it is my duty to be an ally and to amplify other voices and to use whatever type of platform I have to commit to mutual aid and to commit to uplifting other activists and other advocates for social change. And so I don't as though feel as it's my permission, but it is something that I am very passionate about, is uplifting other people's voices and sort of passing the mic, so to speak.
I see that. If you are, I just like, I take notes, guys, as you're talking. If you are not outraged, you are not paying attention. Now, Q, you're sitting in the halls of government. What should we be outraged about? What are you seeing that we're not paying attention to that you want to shake us on?
Yeah, so a lot of times people, they see these outwardly racial acts and they get upset, or they try to push the blame off. But the real root causes of this racism is systematic oppression that has been installed within our governments. So being able to actually go through government, get these racial practices broken, and out of our local governments especially, would actually solve a lot of problems that we're facing today. And so to see the overt racial acts and be upset, but to disregard the causes of those acts is going to lead us down a path of where we are now.
Which is why we are happy that you are taking the path you are. How much more help do you need there, Q?
A lot. Everyone should definitely get involved. Our civic duty is not only just to vote, but to also participate in our electorate. So whether that's in your local government, running for your state government or federal government, get involved with those offices, and then use your voice within those offices to speak up for everyone.
Right. So, this is a hard question for all of us, right? Because you've all talked about equity. You've talked about, and each of you talked about systemic oppression that has been layered in our government and other institutions. And so therefore, we don't really have a great representation of Black lawmakers, do we?
Not at all. We have seen the pioneers.
We have some great ones, right? We have some great ones, but the numbers.
We have some great ones, and we've seen the pioneers, especially from the civil rights era, get involved with politics. But it takes a very special person to want to run for and get into politics deeply. And the more that we can change that and allow for more minority voices inside the actual halls of government, is the more that we can open up and actually talk about these deep-seated issues.
Right. Okay. Well, all right. So we're going to get behind you and help, right? We all talked about this. Leah, what's your thoughts on this? Where are you? What's going through your mind?
I would agree with Taylor when she used the word emotional roller coaster. Just with everything going on, it's been kind of hard, I'm not gonna lie, to even gauge how I'm feeling. Because, you know, one second I'm sad that this is even a conversation that we're still having today.
Right.
I'm heartbroken to see that people are still like, we are literally getting our lives taken away from us for the color of our skin, for an identity that we can't change, we have no control over. And it's heartbreaking. But then it's like, I also have my moments of happiness and feeling empowered when I go to these protests and I go on my social media and I see all of our allies. I see so much support and love for the Black community right now, for a lot of other social identity groups as well. And it's like, it's such a beautiful thing that we can use things like social media, even like video recording, just to see how many people really are on our team right now. So it's a great feeling, but then it's like, you also go into this idea of performative activism. So, you know, I've seen a few trends, like Black Lives Matter has become this kind of trend for certain people, where I've seen, you know, where for 1 week we had to post the Black squares on our social media, and it was supposed to, you know, show your solidarity for the Black community. But then it's like, why does it have to stop there? Why is it that some people are satisfied with doing the bare minimum? And I don't want to sound negative either, but it just makes me think. This has given me a really good opportunity to just take a step back and to just think, kind of gather my thoughts, gather my emotions, because it's been all over the place. Having these conversations are difficult. They're necessary though. But yeah, so I would just definitely say I'm kind of all over the place right now, but I think the feeling that's outshining the rest is the happiness that we are finally having these conversations. I know before COVID, before George Floyd's death, like I was having these conversations with other like-minded individuals, but now I feel like we made a space where we can open up the table. We have so many more seats, and we have a bunch of microphones to give everyone, so everyone has a place at the table and they have the opportunity to speak at the table. So yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. That's really great. So let me ask you this. Who's giving you the courage? How'd you find your voice?
Yeah, so that's actually a really good question because if you know me in real life, I'm an introvert. Like in real life, I'm an introvert. I am so uncomfortable with public speaking. I always feel so little. But when I went to FSU and I joined all of these organizations that were meant like specifically to work towards social change, and we were having these conversations, it felt so natural to me. And it was so weird because if you knew me back in high school, like you would never expect me to be one of the many voices for this movement, because I never felt that I had that power to, I guess.
So where did it come from? So Leah, where did it come from?
Where did it come from? It came from like my passion, really. Like I love having these conversations because even if we don't always agree, I always come out learning something more. And I think that's the big thing. I love to learn. I love to gauge other people's perspectives on what's happening in the world, to help even form my own opinions, because sometimes I simply just don't know. But I think that my voice came from the fact that other people were listening to me. And that was also very weird because I was never used to being heard. So like for other people to actually care about what I have to say and to engage in these conversations just made it so much easier for me to have these conversations and keep talking and being a voice for this.
Right. And Taylor, you've been speaking up since you've been
little.
Okay, you said it, since you've been little. So how did that happen? Where did that come from? Who's giving you the courage?
Well, I guess myself, but just me being a Black girl, a Black woman, I have friends and family who have been, racially profiled by cops, have faced police brutality. So I do, like Leah said, I do have anxiety and stuff. Like I'm very quiet and I don't like to speak, but I feel like sometimes things are bigger than you. You have to stand up for what you believe in because it takes a bigger message out there. You need to make change because it's not just individually, it's for a whole group of people that need to stand up for each other and stuff. So I guess it just came from that want to change and just like fighting for my brothers and sisters and people who look like me and people of color, but also my mom. She's a strong Black woman, so she gives me the courage, and my family and stuff. So being surrounded by people who care and want change, I guess that's what gives me the courage every day. And like Leah said, being around groups and stuff, like how she said she went, like being surrounded by people who also care about the cause and also deal with some of the things that you deal with, it's easier for you to speak out and be comfortable and stuff.
I'm glad you brought up your mother, Toni, because she is a really strong Black woman.
Yeah.
She's brilliant and smart and caring. Let me ask all of you about the older people in your life, parents, caregivers, grandparents. What are they? Where are they on the issues that you're engaged in? And how often have you have conversations with them? Sierra,
we have conversations basically every day. It's been really interesting to hear their perspectives. My parents, so my dad in particular, he was a child that was bused to other schools to integrate them. And so hearing his experiences as a child in elementary school, desegregating schools is always interesting, as well as hearing my mom, who came from an area that always looked like her. And so hearing their perspectives and hearing especially older people that were more in tune with civil rights. I know you were talking about Rodney Hurst earlier. So him and we've been having conversations. He would come to my high school, Stanton, and he would give talks on Axe Handle Saturday. And so hearing their stories is really, really empowering because we have so many more resources now as young people than they did back then in the 60s. So it's great to hear, and it definitely inspires you to keep making progress, to keep moving forward and using your voice.
Yeah, we have lots of stories to tell, don't we? And it's important we share stories, right? Absolutely. Q, what about you and your family? I mean, where did your pull towards government come from? And what's your family? What are they sharing with you these days?
Yeah, so I feel like I'm really blessed. I'm able to have these conversations with my family all the time, whether that's talking politics on Facebook with my mom or having political discussions with my aunts and my grandma. Their willingness to teach me and to teach me how I should get involved really got my interest in politics going. And then just learning about all of our pioneers, especially in the civil rights movement, it really helped me knew where I wanted to go in the future. So having those conversations at home really started me being an activist.
That's incredible that you can have those conversations on Facebook with your mom and grandma. I cannot have those political conversations on Facebook with my mom at all. It doesn't ever go that well, Q. But I do have a question from you and Grace, and we're going to come to you to talk about. I bet your family has lots of discussions as well, and I want to hear about that. I have a question from Jakimba, who happens to be my sorority sister, which I'm so proud of, a Sigma Gamma Rho. And she wants to know, how do we get young people more involved in government and politics? I mean, all of us can answer that, but obviously Q's walking the walk in a big way right now.
Yeah, so it really starts on a fundamental grassroots level. So that's not just getting interested in, hey, you got to run for Congress someday, or you got to be the next president. But what are you going to do for your neighborhood? How are you going to serve on your neighborhood advisory council? How are you going to better your neighborhood in your city? How are you going to run for city council? And so getting young folks involved, like, hey, these are offices that directly affect you and directly affect your neighborhood. And you want to see it make a difference, run for these offices. Don't pay attention to the big politics of national political parties or anything, but run in your neighborhood that makes you want to create a better space for everyone. And so if we're able to get more young people to know that local government itself works directly for you and is directly responsible to you, that they can actually get into those spaces and make a change.
Right. So I have to, all right, there's so many questions I want to ask you guys. As young people living in a community, do you feel your government works for you? Or is that the motivation to run so that you can make it work for you better?
I think for me, that's the motivation to run. I lived all across the city of Jacksonville, and you can really tell the difference between the local communities. So you have this sense in some communities that the government is just there, and that's where you got to go file your taxes to, but they don't have any direct influence on you. And then you have this in other sentiment in other areas of Jacksonville, it's like, hey, we have to do this, we have to step up, we have to run for these offices. And so the main key point is that local government does work for you. And if you don't understand that, and if you don't know how to obtain that information, it's not going to seem like anything you want to get involved with.
Right, great. All right, now, Grace, I am sure that your family has lots of different conversations. Tell me what kind of feedback you're getting from your family and friends in terms of your activism and interest in creating change.
Yeah, we have conversations every single day, and I think that's incredibly important. And I'm really thankful because my family and my friends have been incredibly supportive. And I'm even more thankful for my parents because they allowed me to meet you, Donna. And that's who I'm thinking of when you're asking everyone who inspires you, because you, Donna, like, you have taught me what it means to truly be fearless and to advocate for whatever you want. And I firmly believe that if we don't do it, if I don't do it, who else is going to? And so I'm incredibly grateful for my parents and for you and for everyone in my life for really just supporting me always.
That is really very touching, Grace. I had no idea.
Aw.
That, right? Wasn't that so sweet? But what I'm hearing from all of you, which is very interesting, because I always feel like I have my parents' support, but we don't agree on a whole lot of things. And I am hearing a lot of loving support from your families in very challenging times. And no one's saying that you shouldn't do this. And I'm going to imagine that there are a lot of young kids out there whose families are not agreeing with with the actions they're taking or the beliefs they're holding, right? And look what it's done in terms of creating such great leaders as yourself, right? Sierra, the fact that you have that kind of support. I think weren't you also on the Mayor's Leadership Council as
Yes.
well? Yes.
I was.
I think there might be some Mayor's Leadership Kids Council members tuning in today. I hope if they are, just say hi to them.
Hi, everyone. Okay, so one thing I would definitely mention, just to kind of touch on the question that we were asked earlier about how to get youth involved, I would say one, in the conversations that you keep having with your friends about things that you want to see change, those are the issues that you should be passionate about. So whether that's making change through politics or not, that's a great opportunity. So for example, Stanton is in a food desert and not that many students pay attention to it. So we went and started an organization that grows produce at Stanton and we would distribute it. So just finding those issues and making the change from that is a great way. And also Jacksonville is a pretty big city. And I feel like if you want to get your politicians' attention, it's pretty easy to do so. You have the votes and you can let them know that next time you will be voting them out. So using your voice is very, very important. And everybody, well, I don't say everybody, but most people love to help young people. So when young people come to them, use your youth to your advantage. They love to see young people being active and making a change. So I was always the person that was one of the younger people in my grades. So I would help use that to my advantage. And they're like, oh, this 16-year-old is coming to us and she wants to talk about this. And people would be impressed. So use your youth to your advantage when you're in
That's really good advice. And you guys have all put together some advice that we're going to share from everyone, but that's pretty good advice. And we do want to hear from 16-year-olds. I mean, that's important. And we want you to hear from each other as well to create kind of forums where you can do that. I want to welcome everyone to Refresh. If you've just joined us in the past couple of minutes, we have what Chris has now dubbed the top 5 really engaged, active student leaders who are taking their time, energy, and resource in investing in making a better world. They're inspiring all of us, but they're also letting us know that there are pressures and things that are not as wonderful as they would like, but they're still moving through that, and we appreciate that. Let me talk a little bit about social media, if we could, and then we're going to go to your advice. You have an incredible tool. We recently heard about the K-pop TikTok kids, that's what they call them, that actually totally took over a major, very high profile event and changed its course, right? I didn't have that when I was growing up. Obviously, our grandparents didn't have that was going up. You have a podcast, Leah. I mean, you guys have a direct voice, as we all do, to the world. Tell us how that's impacting the way you see social changes happening and how you're able to activate. Taylor, you have a very, very potent, big social media platform.
Yeah, definitely. I guess, like you said, it is a tool that you can use to get your message and mission out there. And it's easy for you to bring people from all over together so y'all can create change. So I guess that's what I love specifically about social media. But yeah, I guess it's just a really cool tool that we have as a young generation to get people from all over together.
Right, and it worked, but does it cut both ways? I mean,
yeah, there's a downside, like haters and hate comments and stuff like that. I think the negative point of social media, but if you use it in the right way and, only take the good from it, it's overall a good resource to use.
Yeah, but how do you deal with the hate? I am sure, but how do you deal with the haters? I'm sure they're there, right?
Yeah, they are there, but I try not to focus on them because at the end of the day, I'm not doing this for them. I'm doing it for the people who actually do care and actually want to make a change in the world. So I try to focus on what I'm doing it for and the girls out there who don't feel represented, Black Lives Matter, the people of color who are getting oppressed. So I try not to focus on the negative, but always the positive, because usually it outweighs.
It does.
Kill them with kindness.
It does. I don't know. Sometimes I feel when we if you can get over not personalizing the negative, which can be very, very hard. I've sat in that seat and listen to what people are saying. It also reveals not only ignorance and fear, but pain and prejudice. You learn what's going out in the world that's not around you, that you some way needs to be addressed. You have to figure it out. Leah, you're shaking your head on that one.
Oh, yeah, I was just agreeing with you 100%. And like, even thinking back to like the benefits and the cons of social media, because social media is a really, really, really great source to get out information, to spread awareness, to share resources, to actually educate people. But at the same time, social media can be hurtful in the sense where a lot of people do spread misinformation. And a lot of people don't do their outward research, and they kind of just see a post and they're like, okay, I believe it. And they keep scrolling when that's not always the case. And everything that is shared on social media isn't always 100% true. So like, even though I know we're not at the advice section, I would definitely advise that, yes, social media is great for gaining a lot of information and staying up to date on everything going on in our world, but also don't let it stop at just looking at a post. Also try to research on your own time, because there's a lot more to a picture than you can't than that's presented. And like a good example of this is, you know, how all of the protests have been happening because of George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, and you would have all of these great movements going on, but then you would also have the very negative people who would keep bringing up looting and how destructive Black Lives Matter supporters are. But in reality, the amount of looters are not like as big as the amount of people who are out there being peaceful and using their constitutional right to speak up for what's right. So I think it's just important that when you do use social media, you also want to not solely rely on it, because not everything is going to be 100% as it seems.
Right. Grace, are you active in social media?
Yes, and I think social media can be a very powerful tool to disseminate information and to gather support and share resources. But I also really want to emphasize that activism, that actions should always start there and never stop, because while a post raising awareness can be a good individual act, it is not where you should stop acting, and that you need to translate your online opinions into very tangible actions in your daily lives to really make a difference.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Well, let's bring up this graphic if we can, Sherry. We've asked all of you to kind of come together and oh my goodness, how about this? Our state attorney, Melissa Nelson, she just said hello to all of you, because she understands how important. Everybody say hello to her back. How great is that, huh?
Hi, Miss Nelson.
Hi.
There you go. There's a woman who's trying to make change as well. Okay, so here we go. Active advice. You guys, chime in. The number one is asking all of us. So in other words, this is for not only kids, your peers, colleagues. I think you're speaking to all of us who would like to be more active, right? Would that be fair to say? All right, let's, number one, reflect on personal bias regarding systemic racism. Who wants to dig in on that a little bit?
That was my point that I brought up. So I thought, in saying this, that we all play a part in upholding institutional racism. And so reflecting on things that we have done and ways that we could have handled situations better, ways that we could have acted better, or whether it's you are following a policy, ways that that policy could be changed to help be more inclusive, be more equitable, is a great way to start, because starting on a personal level before you start looking at huge systems is the best way to help educate yourself without feeling overwhelmed at once.
Okay, so Sarah, I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit. I'm going to give you a little time to think. I'd love you to come up with one specific, or it could be more. Give us a specific thing you would like us to think about changing as it relates to systemic racism, right? You can pick whatever, whatever it is. I every single day I see a little something that I'm like, like, okay, kind of know was there, not really know was there, but you know what? I'm going to rethink how I look at that or do that. So if there's something there, that would really be helpful, because you know what? This is like that big iceberg. If we all take out little chinks, a little at a time, guess what? We'll whittle that thing down. Although I will go back to Q saying that there are big governmental, systematic issues that do have to be changed. And that's also going to require us chipping away at it. Although we'd like to actually just take the whole thing and melt it, but I don't think that's going to happen that quickly. All right, that's good. Sarah, you think about it, we'll come back. Number 2, be an active ally and amplify the voices of others. Grace, you want to jump into that one?
Yeah, so that is what I said. And when I was saying that to everyone, I'm really thinking about what Angela Davis said. And she said that it's not enough to simply be not racist. You must be actively anti-racist. And I also think about my whiteness and how that contributes to my day-to-day life and how I can dismantle that for myself and for others in my community. And also just emphasizing the importance of mutual aid, because there have been so many activists now and historically whose voices haven't been heard. And I think that it's really important that we all work together rather than individuals. We can really have a very powerful coalition amongst ourselves if we work together as a community.
Wow. So we can't gloss over that at all, can we? Because first of all, at Gen Wow, you know what we always said is if we live together and learn together, we will eventually lead together. And that's what you're saying. So when you hear Grace, Leah or Q, Taylor or Sierra speak her words of truth as a white woman wanting to be an ally, wanting to understand better her place, how do you guys take that? How does that make you feel? What are you thinking?
It makes me feel really, really good to know that we have those allies and there's active allies there. A really good metaphor that I came up with is that oftentimes we invite our allies to the metaphorical cookout, but we never actually get to see what they're doing at the cookout. So it's whether or not your actions now that you're here with us and you're standing with us, are those actions helping, or are you just being in the background and not using your platform? Does that deserve a to-go plate? So if you're being an active ally and you're helping amplify our voices, you're more than worthy of getting this to-go plate and sharing a meal with us.
That's awesome. I love that analogy. Anybody else want to comment on that? Because these kinds of conversations, right, the ones you are having, not only with us, but with each other, show us what is possible. And when we have hope, then what happens, right? Good things happen. Leah.
So I know Q mentioned, this metaphorical cookout. And if you have TikTok, or you've probably seen it on social media, anytime we see an ally or somebody who shows support to the Black community, you'll see comments saying like, oh, well, you're invited to the cookout. You're invited to the cookout. This is the cookout. This movement is the cookout. So honestly, it makes my heart so happy knowing that there are people from all races, all around the world, who are really out here. Like, they didn't just get their to-go plate and they stayed, they helped clean up. They're out here showing support, and it means so much. And this is I would say that this movement in general has really been impacting my own mental health. And I've had my days where I'm super down, but seeing our allies and seeing our real allies out here is what is bringing me back up here. And I'm like, okay, we're ready to keep going. We're going to keep fighting.
That's awesome. Hey, listen, everybody who's out there in Facebook land, if you happen to be on there, if you get a chance, send a message of support to all these kids, who will share it with all these kids, because we're concerned about your mental health. I'm concerned about all of our mental health, but thanks for mentioning your mental health, because we are worried. This is a lot to handle, right? It's a lot to process. It's going in a direction we like, but not without us having to go through dark tunnels and seeing bright lights and all these things that will impact us. You guys, we're so proud of you. Okay, let's keep moving here. Thank you, Grace. You're at the cookout. You're cooking, girl. You're here. It's awesome. You're making it happen. Silence is complacency.
So, yes, I'm the one who said silence is complacency. And this just kind of reminds me of the quote by Desmond Tutu, who said, if you're neutral in situations of injustice, you have chosen the side of the oppressor. And I feel like there's only really two sides here. You're either with the oppressed or with the oppressors. So I've seen a lot of people, yeah, we've been using our social media. We have been making a lot of noise, and that is appreciated. I've also had a few friends, a few family members who just stayed completely silent. And I don't know about you guys, but that kind of hurts me a little bit more than the hurtful things that those who are oppressing us are saying. To know that, like, you can call yourself my friend, you could call yourself like a supporter, but stay completely silent when faced with this opportunity. And I don't want to keep bringing up the cookout, but this is it. Like, if you aren't standing with us, then you're showing what you're really supporting. And I've had a few conversations where it's like, well, maybe I'm just not comfortable posting on my social media. Maybe I'm not comfortable with this. And I'm like, I completely understand. Not everybody has to use their social media as a platform to bring awareness to these oppressive systems and these injustices. But there's so much more than posting on social media, right? Like, you can sign petitions, you can educate yourself, you can even have conversations. But if you are staying completely silent, I feel like you're not doing enough right now.
Wow. Okay, that's important. I know there are people that I would love to see speak up, and but let me just say this: Dr. Marvin Wells, who's a board member of the KHA, an extraordinary, thoughtful, considerate, kind, caring, intelligent man, says, "Thank you all for your demonstrated courage and contributions," which I think is really nice. And also, Corey Armstrong also is wishing you guys well, and tells you how proud he is of. He's the one who runs the mayor's leadership council. Number 4, make your passion your action. Who's that?
I think that's me. So basically, so I think a lot of kids, a lot of youth think they can't do anything because they're young. And I wanted to hear from that because, the whole saying is stay in a child's place and stuff like that. But I feel like there's so many things that young people can do to make a difference. So just doing the thing that you know how to do and make a difference in your own community, and how to make a change in your own way, just what you're passionate about. And I always say, we need the wisdom of the elders and the young people's energy. So use your grandmother, your mom, and use what they say about what they went through as a young child. And even the negatives, the people who aren't on our side, use their voice and how they feel, so we can be better prepared on how to, structure the movement and what we want as a change in the world. So yeah.
I think, Taylor, there's a young woman named Tamaya Gori. I think it's either Tamaya or Tamaya. I apologize. She's a ninth grader, but she wants to know how she can get involved. So what would you tell her specifically? Is there something specific we can tell her that would help her get involved?
I guess I would say find what you're passionate about, and then I don't know what grade you're in, but gather a group of friends. Ninth grade? Okay. I would say gather a group of friends and try to make change, whether it's like a little thing like selling something on the street or educating people at your school about what you're passionate about. But just start with the little things and then like grow on what you want.
So find something right? And maybe she can get a couple of friends together.
Exactly. Right? And find resources, connect.
Say, right, let's pick something. You know what? I have an idea for all of us moving forward. Let's just go to the last platform. Use your platforms to promote change.
Yep, so that was me. So everyone has a platform. Some platforms may reach a wider audience than others, but everyone has a platform. So speaking up and having these uncomfortable conversations with your family, your friends, whether you're into local government politics or you just help running your neighborhood, using your platform to speak up about the injustice and the oppressive systems that's still in play will help us change those systems for the better.
That's awesome. That's great. Thanks, Q, for that. I have one other question. Listen, there's a lot more questions coming in. We might have to do part 2 here. Maybe you guys would be up for it, right? Maybe. I have to tell everybody that when we did our rehearsal so everyone could meet everyone, they were all joining each other's causes, volunteering, taking their numbers. It was so heartwarming. We don't even have time for all of that right now. But Siobhan, actually, he was a mother of Gen Wow as well, asked, what are some of the various intersections, class, gender, etc., that you've had to push through in your advocacy work? Anyone want to take that through?
I can do this.
Sarah? Sure.
So intersectionality is very, very important, especially at a time like this. I think we're seeing that a lot on social media. As we were talking about Black Lives Matter, we've also had to have conversations about sexual assault, about homophobia, transphobia, because so much of that impacts everyone. So if you're talking about really valuing all Black lives, you have to talk about all these different intersectionalities that people in the Black community have. So whether that's, somebody who's been formerly incarcerated, or someone who's a part of the LGBTQ plus community, or someone who has been sexually assaulted, or whose immigration status here isn't citizen, or English isn't their first language. It's really, really important to address all of that. And I see that happening now on social media. And I think that it's really helping us look at our society and say, what is the community that we want to build, and working towards making that beautiful community that's inclusive of everyone. So one piece of great advice is to take the most marginalized intersectional identity and put your efforts towards that one, because when the most oppressed group of people are free, then everyone will be free. So if you're supporting Black Lives Matter, you have to look at what are the most marginalized areas of that community, and what are the most marginalized areas of that community. So just going deeper and deeper in there and freeing everyone will be what we're truly looking for.
When the most depressed people are free, then we all are free. As simple as that, right, Sierra? I don't know if our state attorney general just left or not, but she should know that you want to go to law school, and that in a couple of years you will be ready to work in a capable way, right? We should just put that out there, right? Don't you think we should? Siobhan, I hope that answered your question. It was quite eloquently addressed. Quick question. Yes, Leah, please.
Sorry, I just wanted to add on to that question. Sierra's response was great. I think another thing that we should look at in these movements when we decide to be leaders in this movement is that ageism does play a huge part, specifically adultism. So I've been told a lot of times, you don't have enough life experience to talk about these issues. You're too young to make a change. And I'm here to tell you that that is a lie. You can literally look at the members on this panel and see, we are out here making change, and there's so many more youth. And a lot of these movements do start with our youth. So I just want you all to know that it does not matter your age. You are never too young to be passionate about something and to make a change. You're never too old. It's never too late to get involved. So
Definitely agree with you, Leah.
You guys, I'm gonna have to watch this, and you are never too young, you are never too old to make change. Well, it's good to know, right? And that's motivating. Who do you guys who do you guys go to for guidance? Leaders, leaders in the community, parents, who other, in a pinch. If you have mom, okay, who else?
My first Black teacher.
Your mom, okay, mom.
I said my first Black teacher.
Your first Black teacher, cool, right? Role model, someone you can see, look like you, had a heart of gold, smart, all of that, awesome.
Also, my parents and my mentors, they're both great at teaching me, helping me, inspiring me.
Right, okay, so, and Grace?
You, Donna.
Okay, I'm so glad to be there for you. So, but you know what we're talking about? It's I love this thing you just said, Leah, which is you're never too young, you're never too old. Taylor, you brought this intergenerational connectivity. The fact that you don't have the same life experience as I do actually brings a richness to the conversation, a texture. Perhaps you didn't live something I lived. You haven't seen it, but you raise things with a new set of eyes in a new way that forces us to look at it again. right? And then from each other, we can learn. And I think that is so incredibly powerful. I wanted to share with you the note I just got. And thank you, Gigi Lucas, for that question. It was a great question. And everyone should know about Gigi's work. She happens to be an African-American woman who has building a national organization around getting Black girls to surf. And I think that is the coolest thing. And if anybody wants to know about that, we'd be happy to help you find Gigi because her work is amazing. But from Joy Kurtz, she says, as a member of the very senior generation, it is so heartening to hear such impressive young people who are so well-spoken and definitely give me hope for real change. I spent almost 40 years in the education field, and change does not happen in a vacuum. It takes so much work. Thank you. You are our hope for the future. Is that the nicest thing ever? I know. Gosh, Joy, thank you so much. Lastly, last question, and then I'm going to have to sign us off. And I'm a little teary on that, actually, is our schools. Are you getting enough support in our schools? Where's the education system? It's obviously not a last question, it can go on, but quickly, how do you guys feel about that? I think we have some school board members. We have the head of major not-for-profits involved in education. What should we be doing in our schools? You've all come through public schools, right? And private schools.
I guess I would say, me and Grace were talking about this earlier, but I guess I would say better widespread education, because I feel like we mostly learn like more European culture, and we don't learn about other countries and stuff. And it's sort of like when we talk about Africa, it's only about slavery and the only negative concept. So I would try to get more culturally diverse instead of talking about, Europe and then that's it, and the Holocaust, and certainly just basic topics, and get more deeper into detail about other things that were going on. So yeah.
All right, we got to learn together. We got to learn all of it together, and we have to learn about the good and the bad sitting next to each other so we can understand.
Of course.
That is really great. So whoever's listening, we got to really start looking at our curriculum. Anybody else? Yes, please, Q.
Yeah, and so I will also say to revisit what we're currently teaching in the schools, to make sure like false narratives aren't there. So a really big myth is like the myth of the lost cause, which repaints the Civil War and Reconstruction in a different light, and more often that's getting taught in our Southern schools. So really going through the information and making sure that it's right and it's historically accurate to teach our younger generation what actually happened.
Okay, so again, looking at our curriculums and how we are addressing what we are teaching and what we're making available to learn. I think that's really, really powerful. Listen, I'm gonna ask everybody who's watching, we're gonna have to close up in a second here. We're gonna have to sign off. You guys are amazing. You're special. You give us such heart. You give us such hope. Take pictures of this screen, and let's call Chris the top 5. Take me out of it, right? The top 5. Right? These wonderful, well-spoken young people who are thinking about not only their futures, but our collective future. How many times did you hear them say, we want a more beautiful world and we can make that happen? Oh my gosh, it's amazing. So grateful to you, Leah, Q, Taylor, Grace, Sierra. We are with you. And we have to be, because we owe it to you. Thank you for coming here to speak your truth, your desire to stand up for change. We so appreciate it. Next week, we will have the amazing, wonderful Dr. Wendy Borlabi, the performance coach for the Chicago Bulls. She's done several workshops at Generation W, one of the most popular workshops, I might add. She definitely knows how to get it done on the court. And as a single parent with twins, she will share ways to prioritize your life in ways that works for your professional goals, personal beliefs, and practical responsibilities. And I know that we are all continuing to struggle with that. Thank you, everyone, of course, to the entire Generation W team, our producers, Sherry, Stacy, Jamie, Kasha, Christina, Tara, Elizabeth, and now Mariah and Ruth. To all of you for joining us, keep spreading the word. It was so great to see all of you join us. From Dr. Wells to Melissa, I think Elizabeth Anderson, of course, Rachel, to Chris, to Gigi. I don't get to see all your names, whatever some people send me, but just know we appreciate this community more than we can tell you. Thank you, Siobhan. Please keep spreading the word about Refresh in this world. And by all means, please do stay in touch. Please do, if you don't already, subscribe to our newsletter, Gen W Now. and follow our social, because together we are powerful. Together we are not alone. And remember what Leah said. You are never too young. You are never too old to create change. As Sierra reminded us, if we can free oppressed people, or if oppressed people are free, then we are all free for sure. Q said, run where you can and make a difference, which was really powerful. Grace, if you are not outraged, you are not paying attention. And lastly, we'll conclude with Taylor, who said, you know what? Sometimes there are things that are just bigger than you. Yes, they are. And we got to do something to make a difference. I love you all. You were amazing.
Thank you for having us.
Bless you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's stay in touch.